Hello and welcome everybody, my name is Severin and today we're speaking about the full moon in Aquarius on the 3rd of August 2020. So on one side we have the moon in Aquarius and then on the other side we have the sun in Leo. So these two are the two opposite factors that we are going to talk today about, and both of them are squaring Uranus in Taurus, and Uranus is the ruling planet of Aquarius. So there's a lot of Aquarian themes, and that's why I'm naming this talk today New Perspectives or a Sense of Renewal. And because of that also I would like to look with you at some specific events that we are facing upon the next month, because we're kind of in a race or kind of journey until the end of the year where the next eclipse is coming, where Jupiter and Saturn are moving out of Capricorn and finally moving into an air sign, which there will be quite a shift in perception. So let's go to some events, and one of them will be the Mars retrograde that we are facing from September to November, and we are already in the shadow period, and I will explain to you what that means. So there's a lot of themes that I would like to explore with you. But first, two things that I would like to share with you. One is, and I'm very excited about, I'm just finishing right now a video, I'm in the final editing, in which I'm looking into the future with you. We are going through a big shift, a big crisis, and therefore a new paradigm will come out of that. And that is not going to be an easy birth, and I would like to look into that with you on one side from an astrological perspective, but then also because the financial system is so involved on the financial domain as well, and then also how can we prepare on an individual level and protect and go through this transition smoothly. So that's a video that's coming out, so stay tuned. And the second thing is that I'm at the moment not taking on any new clients. So I'm just working with the clients I have for now. So if you have been looking for a reading with me, then this will have to wait for the moment. So let's talk about the full moon in Aquarius. And for that, let us go back 2 weeks when we had the Cancer new moon. And remember, the Cancer new moon was an invitation to take better care of ourselves. Now normally that's not what we are best in. It needs a circumstance that we are getting sick, that we're feeling exhausted or tired, or maybe not even that. Maybe we simply lost our job now in the time of coronavirus, or we may be more at home and therefore we had this intense fight with our partner or our parents or a good friend. You see, all of them bring us basically to a place where we're questioning ourselves, where we're wondering of, did we identify too much of who we have been, and we are simply a repetition, we're just looking for security and stability? Or are we actually coming to a place where we maybe want to reinvent ourselves and actually do something new? And now that our things are anyway not working so well around us, it's a real invitation to actually adapt and align ourselves with what is alive within us. And with that, full moon is also the sun in Leo is very alive in us now, that with this full moon it comes alive in us. Are we doing actually what we like to do? Are we expressing our joy and our desires because they are kind of supporting us within ourselves, even though things are difficult, or even though other people don't like maybe what we're doing, but it gives us kind of a sense of value and purpose, and therefore we can even find meaning in it when it doesn't go so easy around us. And that's right now, we kind of having the capacity to see ourselves from a bigger perspective, or seeing the bigger picture, because this is the Aquarian theme. And right now, because of that, we can maybe question of where we're coming from, and if we are still alive with what is true for us right now, or simply something that we have repeated and we're actually not living out what is truth for us anymore. And that's really something that we have to ask ourselves right now. And what that brings in, therefore, is a sense of renewal. Uranus in Taurus is this quality that is right now transforming the world. And it's not in a sense like, reinventing everything and destroying the old and inventing something new, but it's like recycling. You're making out of the old something new. So you're not throwing the old away, but you're using it and making something new out of it. And that's this sense of renewal that we are perceiving in the world right now. But right now it is full moon, it's on a very personal level that we feel maybe that we want to go in a different direction, that we can become more resourceful or more clear with our direction, and we don't have to throw everything away that's there from the old. And that is Aquarius. Aquarius can sometimes be a little bit cold. And that's not because they don't care, it's simply they don't care in the same way as a watery sign would do, where they're feeling your pain and they're really sorry. It's much more in a mental understanding. I really get you, I understand you, I know where you're coming from, and I see how you are ending up at the place that you are right now because of an accumulation of all the things that you have done and studied and played out. And if you continue now in the same way, you will create the same problems that you had a few years ago or a few weeks ago. Or you can actually step back and watch that, but not react to that, and therefore create a different future. So it's almost that we are in a time right now with this Aquarius full moon where we can see ourselves in a different way or give ourselves a different directions, acknowledging a different perspective that we might have not seen before, and it needed that stop, that exhaustion, that fight, in order to step back and questioning everything, and out of that not knowing something new or a renewal can come clearer into our perspectives. And that is right now what's happening, and that's also a wonderful opportunity for us to right now look into what is lying ahead of us. By the end of this year, there is a new cycle starting on the 14th of December with an eclipse. But until then, we have some events that we still have to work upon. And these events are basically the Mars retrograde, that is quite big. We have the Jupiter and Pluto coming together in Capricorn. So the Capricorn theme is going on. And only then in next year, on the 18th and 20th December, when we have like kind of Jupiter and Saturn moving into Aquarius, when we have this new, fresh kind of perspective that we're having. Right now it is full moon, we maybe can bring that into action. So it's almost that we are already having an insight where we're heading, but until the rest of the year is happening or ending, we're still kind of working on the all. But right now we have a perspective where we're heading, but we still have to let go and recycling some of the old, right? So let me explain the journey then. We are right now seeing like where we have to go. But what we then do, also the composting comes with that Mars retrograde. And the Mars retrograde starts on the 10th of September on 28 degrees. So right now we have Mars in 19 degrees. So it has to go the way down until 28 degrees, and then it starts to retrograde. And it retrogrades until the 15th of November. And then it goes direct again. So the 14th of November is actually when it goes direct again, and it will go through the degrees that it is already in right now. So that means we are in the shadow period. So that means when Mars is retrograde, any planet retrograde is basically closest to the Earth. That means that domain in us, so Mars is our masculinity, our capacity to, put out our strength, our force, our boundaries, and what we want and what we don't want, and getting it is actually stronger in us. But in retrograde motion, it's also that we have to question these qualities. Sometimes it's not about just getting what we want, but it's much more actually that these qualities come up. Our frustrations, our anger, our resentment, our impatience. And that then has to be dealt with. Now, what do we do when we deal with that quality of force, of strength, and of anger? Well, dealing with it normally would be just leashing it out, and I'm punching your face and I have expressed my inner tension, right? But that then creates more kind of anger or violence, and that's probably not so helpful. So the ideal way would then be that I start to know that my actions are not actually good for my future or for the other person's future, that I actually have to learn that the anger comes out and I need to actually step back a moment and see where this anger has been arising within me, because normally I have been overstepping my boundaries. I have been not saying where I'm getting hurt, and I need to communicate that. So rather than pushing you, I have to go further back and feel into where is this frustration building up within me, and coming to that point where I have been crossing my boundaries, and then communicating that in a way that I'm becoming clear about my boundaries, that this is not happening again. But you see, that's normally not the worry, that's normally not the way that probably the majority of the population is doing that. And therefore we will see a lot of work has to be done in this Mars retrograde period that we are going through, but a lot of frustrations, a lot of struggling, a lot of challenges are coming up. And it's basically an invitation of not unleashing it on somebody else, but of really, digesting and composting and recycling that energy within us, that we have more clarity, better boundaries, and are more in tune with ourselves as well. And therefore, out of that, we can come to a place where a lot of anger, a lot of misbehavior, a lot of inner fear, a lot of challenges, a lot of worries, a lot of greediness, we can come to a place where we can say why we have that, or why we're acting that, or why we would like that. And then it can be a way of making it conscious and explaining that. And that's where then the Pluto and Jupiter conjunction, the last one, is happening on the 12th of November. And that's when a lot of this is coming up again. Like, we are already seeing it now, but it's basically like we just had a conjunction by the 30th of June. And now it's kind of going apart, but then they're coming together again, where a lot of fear, a lot of challenges coming up anyway, where we are triggered, where we are worried, and especially with all this insecurity around us, we don't know where we're heading. And by confronting our fears, confronting our demons, confronting our worries, and feeling them, and expressing them, and acknowledging them, and kind of also saying, this is actually my challenge, or this is my humanness where I'm not, being willing to be ourselves with all the flaws that we are having, and taking responsibility for that rather than pushing it onto somebody else. That's kind of the invitation that we have to deal with until the end of the year. And that's a lot of working with the Alt in Saturn and Capricorn until we then on the 18th and 20th move into Aquarius. And we see already a little bit with this full moon in us of where we are heading, and we have maybe an idea, but we still have to deal with some of the past. So I hope with this I could help you, give you some clarity and meaning and understanding with this full moon in Aquarius, and have a beautiful full moon. Goodbye.